Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode from the Training, Learning, and Development community. Thanks for coming in. Let's see. Joyce, I saw that you were already in the room, and Mark. Let's say so. Eric had registered. Kristen, that invitation is going out, so I'm sure we'll have more folks coming in soon. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for popping in. This is a little different for TLDC because we haven't had many afternoon conversations, or at least it's been a while. I know at one point we tried to start doing them in the afternoon. So, but this is fun. I'm working from home, as many of you are doing the same, and so our schedules are open this way. I'm especially excited because this is another a member showcase episode, this new series that we're doing where we're featuring some of the members of the community. And today we have an especially prolific member and somebody who's been a great supporter of TLDC for a number of years now, Megan Torrance. And Megan, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited about getting to showcase you and have this conversation and hear the answers to the questions that we have in the Q&A section, because I've already been reading some of your replies and they're just as expected, fantastic.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. This is a lot more cool and laid back and just getting real than, most of the things I get to do on a regular basis. I'm a pretty buttoned down, cardigan wearing dork.
There you go.
I'm just getting it out early.
That's awesome. So let's just get into it. So I have 12 questions. This will be about 30 minutes or so, and we'll just go into it. You folks in chat, if you guys want to chime in with anything, feel free to post it in chat. But mostly this is an opportunity to get to know Megan a little bit, and we'll just move forward. So first question, what are you working on right now?
Same thing everybody else is working on. Right? I was like, same thing we do every night, Pinky, putting our stuff online. We like everybody else, we are supporting our clients as well as our own professional development material, and getting it online. It's been cool, right? We are doing, and we're seeing a lot of people who are just jumping to, they've had these ideas, they need to get stuff online, and they're going to do it. So, we took our popular Agile project management workshop. That was an easy, I've already done that online for the Guild years and years ago. So that was easy. We took our XAPI hands-on geek-free workshop. We put that online. That one's a little bit trickier because it's got a lot of moving parts and pieces. And then we're like, well, while we're at it, let's add some more. So we did a bunch of that. We had a conference that we've actually run 15 of these conferences in our office every May. And our XAPI party, and so we've got that online. So all of that stuff, wow. and so that's it's exciting, it's cool, it's we're helping our clients do the same thing with their programs, and then strangely enough, I also am not strangely, it's kind of interesting, coincidentally, I'm teaching classes for eCornell. And I just finished facilitating classes. It's like being a teaching assistant. A class on managing high performance virtual work teams. And so about half of the people signed up, months ago, just because they manage teams online. And then half the people signed up weeks ago because all of a sudden they're at home, their teams are at home, they have to do. So the dynamic in doing that right now and helping people lead their teams right now in this environment has been super exciting.
Wow. So it sounds like you're a lot busier.
I'm a ton busier.
Really?
I am a ton busier. Yeah, nonstop. I'm exhausted.
Oh my gosh.
Caffeine and emergency. That's how we do it.
Oh, definitely. No, I mean, I guess that's good to hear, but at the same time, I mean, because I know so many people that at this point right now, they're like, oh yeah, well, things are kind of slowed down and, sort of wait and see. But that's amazing that you're kind of getting, you're getting hammered with stuff right now. I mean, it's great. Congratulations. And so through all of this, is there anything in particular that you're enjoying? Is there anything sort of, I'm kind of alluding to the next question. Favorite part of your job?
Okay. Favorite part of my job is kind of like the the thing I tell people at cocktail parties, well, I don't go to cocktail parties, I don't have a life, but and nobody goes to cocktail parties now unless they're on, unless they're video. Don't
Back
go
in the
to
old
cocktail
days.
parties. Don't go to cocktail parties. No, here's the thing, right? In my job, I get to learn a little bit about a lot of things, really random things. I mean, spray dried cheese powder, how the electrical grid works, RV parts and accessories, bathroom installation, like spinal cord. And I know about reflexes in your body that I'm not allowed to talk about on broadcast, right, situations. Like there's so many things we learn about in doing our jobs. It's kind of cool. So I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Right. And aside from that, even just being an instructional designer, you kind of have to know a lot of things nowadays too. That's often a topic that comes up amongst, our conversations with the community, is just how much you kind of just need to know all around.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the kind of job where you need to know a little bit of technology and a little bit of learning science and a little bit of graphic design and a whole lot of pieces, business acumen, project management, all sorts of things. So it's not a dull job.
Right. Yeah, and especially with as active of business as you have and kind of how dynamic you are, like your title, Chief Energy Officer. I mean, can you explain that a little bit? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that title.
Yeah, that's a funny story. We were a whole bunch of years ago sitting around, and everybody is cool. If you're an entrepreneurial company, you need cool job titles. So we were going around and brainstorming job titles, and our then COO and a good friend of mine, Jen Vetter, actually suggested we had two that were kind of like neck and neck for me. One was Chief Energy Officer, right? Because I whatever energy I bring in is kind of the energy that pervades the group. And her suggestion was Chief Bottleneck. So we went with Chief Energy Officer. So it works for us. It's a lot more exciting than Chief Bottleneck.
Right. I like it. I actually, surprisingly, I haven't seen it anywhere else. So, I just love that it's attached to you. So what do you wish you had known when you had started out on this path?
I was thinking about this question, and I never intended to go start my own business, and it was the kind of thing that seemed like too wild and out there an idea for me. So I skipped all those courses in college. Actually, the school I went to has a great entrepreneurial program, and I thought, that's not for me. No, I think one of the things I found is that owning a business is a lot like having kids. People say it'll change your life. And you're like, yeah, it'll change my life, I know. And you're like, no, you have no idea. You're going to love it more than you ever thought you did. You're going to dread it and fear it more than you ever thought you would. And you wonder where your time and all your money went before you had this bit, right? It was, so it's been good, right? I mean, I love it. It's why I get out of bed in the morning.
So you kind of wish that you had just taken some of those entrepreneurial classes and.
I don't think any of those entrepreneurial classes would have prepared me for the emotional ups and downs of it. Right. I think that's the thing, right? There's a lot of ups and downs with that. And so I'm pretty sure that they don't teach you that in college.
Yeah. No, I wish I could just have an hour-long conversation with you about this, just because even as somebody who started out TLDC, it started out as one thing and it was just constantly this evolving thing, and it just never stops. It's always changing. And, it's, I would love to be able to discuss, this with somebody, because I just don't have any other resources that way. But yeah, it just seems like it becomes, like you were saying, it's like having children. It's just sort of like an entity unto itself.
Yeah. That's and amazing. It's cool, right? I mean, I remember the first time when I realized that people at work were going out and having fun and had built friendships and stuff, and I wasn't even involved. I'm like, oh, it's alive. It's got this culture and this vibe, and I don't have to be at the center of it. And that's super, it's a thing. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
congratulations, because Torrance Learning is just such a wonderful resource for so many people. I just hear, so many people are just love what you're doing and everything that you do.
well, thanks. One of our core values is
So
generous
let me
collaboration.
ask you this next one.
Okay,
Now,
go.
knowing like if you could even answer this one, I don't know if it's possible, but if you could have a tool or service that you don't currently have, what is it?
This was a hard question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how other people answered this. This was a hard question. I'm like, I would like a nap. I would like, I would like, services I don't have or tools I don't have. I actually, my dad has a great coping saw. I would like one of those, but that's not the kind of tool I think we're talking about. You could do so many things with a coping saw. They're like these delicate. Anyways, no, I think so. At work, one tool that we are constantly asked if we have and if we can share, and we don't, and now we need it. So we have a big Lego board that manages all of our projects and all of our people. And so on this, envision a 12-foot wide by 3 feet tall spreadsheet made out of the Lego green backer board. And,
Wow.
and then we've got stripes on it with tape and everything, right? But in this spreadsheet in your mind, okay, every column is a different project. So we've got at least 2 dozen different projects going on at any point in time at Torrance Learning. Mm-hmm. Every row is a week. And so we have 6 weeks down. And then every person has a color. So there's light green and there's pink and there's black and the orange and red and there's like just translucent and there's gold and all there. So every team member has their own color. And wow. Then every bump on a Lego is an hour of time. So a 2x4 Lego bump brick, like your regular old Lego rectangles, that 2x4 brick is an 8-hour day because there's 8 little bumps on it. And so we have full days and we have half days. We don't get down to the little tiny ones that you step on and they hurt your feet. But this is how we like plan for the week. So if I'm a 40-hour a week person, I have 5 2x4, so 40 little bumps of bricks to spread out across all my projects for the week. And first we allocate when are you out, when are you in training, when you're like all your office meetings and stuff. So this is, you physically cannot over allocate a person because there aren't enough bricks. You can swap them around. Somebody's unexpectedly out. So I mean, Legos is how our place keeps track of who's doing what and when and where do we have our needs. And when we're all together, which is how we normally work, it's awesome. And, there might be 1 or 2 people in the project planning meeting who aren't there. So we set up a webcam and somebody else does the Vanna White moving around the board and literally like you're prying Lego bricks off and you're moving them. It's a very hands-on project management. We have a much future forecasted one, that's out like 3 months that we use for like staffing and recruiting and needs. But we haven't found software that does exactly this with the right amount of constraints and controls to be able to do, we call it the Lego meeting, the Lego board, in a, just in the right way. So, wow. And of course, nobody's in the office now because our state is on a full shutdown. And so it's, we're Michigan doesn't often get to be at the top of anybody's list, but we are now, unfortunately. So we shut it down hard, and that was the right answer to do. But it means nobody's in front of our Lego boards.
Right. Wow. So wait a minute. Like, is this a concept that you came up with yourself, or the
team came up with it? Yeah, really? The team came up with it. Yeah. So there's an advertising agency that does something similar, and we saw it at. We saw an ad or an article for it and we thought, oh, that's kind of interesting, but not quite what we need. So then we built our system. And it's part of, like when we do a project management workshop, that's part of the workshop is looking at how do I manage, because instructional designers are usually on, 3, 4, 5, 12 projects at a time. How do you manage all of that and all the resources associated with it? So
I love it. Wow.
It's
I am actually going to like revisit all my son's Legos after this conversation is over and take a look and see if I could actually put something together like that. That's yeah, because especially if you've got multiple projects, I can see how that
yeah.
makes sense. That is wonderful. Maybe at some point you could share a photo of what you guys have. It'd be really, really neat to see.
Yeah, you know what? Shoot, let me see if I can get a video and paste it in the chat. Let me ping
Okay.
out to my team.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, totally. And let me ask you this next question
yep.
while you're chasing that down. Other than this Lego board, of course, is there a particular project that you're especially proud of that you want to talk about?
We have two. We have
Hmm.
two. Is that okay? I break the
Yeah,
rules. Okay.
let's hear
Um,
it.
so the hey Toddy, is that a video of our Lego board? I just saw it. Oh, thank
Ooh,
you. Thank you. Thank you. I will tell my
thank you,
team they don't
Toddy.
have to. Toddy, consider yourself an honorary Torrance Learning member today. I appreciate that. So so there's a couple projects that are just like really near and dear to our heart. They're great instructional design projects. They're great XAPI and data design projects, and they help make the world a better place. So one of them we did work with Vitamin Angels. If you shop at Walgreens, they're like a Vitamin Angels partner. So you may have seen them
Mm,
before.
yeah.
They distribute vitamin A micronutrients and deworming medication to kids under 5 in
Hmm.
developing countries. And they go
Wow.
to the I never knew this, like on average, this is just a really rough number, but on average, UNICEF, which works through the ministries of health in each country, they're only reaching about 70% of their population. There's an entire huge hunk of people that aren't even reached. And so that population is serviced by NGOs, like this mass distributed pop-up network of NGOs, and Vitamin Angels works with them.
Mm,
So we built e-learning that lives on an LMS stick. Like we put a learning management system and e-learning on a USB stick that could go and be
hmm.
put into any laptop or any computer, doesn't have to be a laptop, even when there isn't internet. And
Mm,
so everything is served. It's got a web server,
hmm.
the web browser, the LMS, and the course, and all the stuff is right there. They take the course, even if the internet connection is crummy, they then take the USB, take that back to place somewhere where you've got internet access, and it uploads all the data regarding that using XAPI. And that kicked off a long relationship with Vitamin Angels. We've been working with them for, gosh, I think 6 or 7 years right now, updating that program, building performance support and dosing calculators and all sorts of stuff. So that's just like, when you realize that the work that we do as instructional designers
Hmm.
is like helping save lives, that's
Hmm.
like crazy awesome. I mean, it's one thing to
Yeah,
be able to, sell more widgets, which is important, right? It's
yeah,
important, but it also, it doesn't tug at your heartstrings the same way. And then another
right.
project we worked with the Arbor Hands-On Museum, which is a children's STEM museum in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And actually, I said STEM, it should be STEAM. So there's a big art component in there too. But the
Oh, I see.
museum was looking at how do we drive engagement with the exhibits? How do we track what happens on a field trip? How do we make sure that we personalize the grade level of content offered to students at each one of the exhibits? So we have iPads next to the to key exhibits that drive the students toward a deeper engagement. Like, try this. What happens? What do you think's going on? Right? And it's a real. There's no right answers. There's a real kind of curiosity engine there. And the kids are all identified with a little Bluetooth beacon that they wear.
Mm,
So there'd be a handful of beacons on lanyards, and we give them, instead of giving kids the iPads and phones to watch. I mean, these are like third graders to
hmm.
walk around the museum for the day. And have to download an app and all the privacy issues and everything. We give them a beacon. It's a genericized beacon.
Hmm.
And then when they walk up to the iPad, it recognizes them, knows what classroom they're in, what content they should be seeing at what grade level. The kids interact with it, interact with the exhibit. It doesn't take them away from the exhibit. It keeps them there at the exhibit longer.
Yeah.
So they're not just like running around smacking things. And then keeps track of by grade level science standard, what the kids are doing, gives them a personalized report at the end of the day. Like, I made the bottle rocket go up 18 feet.
Yeah.
Right? So you have like a really personalized thing. And then the classroom gets data and the museum gets data. So that was super exciting.
That is really, really cool. Wow. And that's something that you guys, that Torrance Learning developed and put together for these folks? Wow.
Yeah, yes. We worked very deeply. The Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum and then their partner, Leslie Science and Nature Center, have an amazing education team. So we got to work with the education team and the exhibits team. Like, we've handmade these, the museum exhibit team made these like plinths that hold and holders that hold the iPads. So think about it, right? You've got to secure iPads to the building or the exhibit in a way that a very clever and curious fourth grader can't pull it off or get into the, right? And so we've got to lock it down. And so there's all sorts of interesting hardware challenges and stuff. It was a super cool project.
That sounds amazing. Both those. I'm going to, after this is done, I'm going to like search for links for that particular project as well. And then the other one, what would I have to look up? Just Vitamin Angels, and would I be able to find?
Yeah, you know what?
USB?
I will get, let's see if I can talk and link at the same time or look at the same time. Learning Solutions Magazine actually has case studies on those two projects.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So they're out there, and I don't know, maybe Toddy's halfway to finding them already. But they're just really amazing projects and great case studies. I should have grabbed links before I came here.
Yeah, no, I'd love to put them in the show notes. So
okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Megan, who or what keeps you inspired?
Okay. This is one of those things where I'm going to take two answers because I don't follow your rules. I don't follow your rules here. No. So one is just honestly the people I work with and the people I have worked with, right? So this extended network of our clients, our team members, our alumni. It's always awesome to see like people who used to work at Torrance Learning and now they're out doing amazing, like crazy awesome things out in the world. And that's just, it's so exciting. And just these creative ideas. See, Toddy's got it. Thank you. So that's just really, it's really awesome. Right. Mm-hmm. And people learning and growing. And I'm really committed to helping our team grow their careers, wherever that may be. Right. I mean, most instructional designers did not grow up thinking, hey, I want to be an instructional designer when I grow up. Right. A lot of us kind of accidentally fell into it and thought, hey, this is cool. While I'm here, I'm going to learn more and do something. Well, some of them, hey, this was cool for a little while and I want to go off and do something. I want to help them do that too, right? So I'm all about building careers in people. Mm-hmm. So even when they go off and do awesome things somewhere else, I'm always super, super excited and proud. And then I have another answer, and it's my daughter, actually. So my daughter just turned 18 last week, which kind of freaked me out. But she has autism and ADHD, and she has helped me think about learning and development on a personal level in completely different ways than I ever thought about. And even to the point where this fall she said, Mom, why do we, meaning people with autism, why do we have to learn how to deal with the rest of you? Why don't the rest of the world learn how to deal with us and meet us where we are? And I just sat there and I thought, actually the rest of the world is actually in a position to do that more easily than people with, different learning approaches. And she was actually right. Right. And so we have an off-the-shelf course curriculum called EleVenture that we sell through like Udemy and CyberU and then just direct to clients. And that actually inspired us to open a whole new chapter or series within that. Around neurodiversity in the workplace. So we're about to release in a couple weeks a course on neurodiversity in the workplace for team members, neurodiversity in the workplace for managers. So this is not how to get a job. This is, hey, you know what? Somebody on your team has autism. Somebody on your team has OCD or ADHD or sensory processing disorder. how do you relate to them?
Wow.
And then along with that, we also have reducing workplace anxiety. And we're looking at this as a series and something that we can do to help people relate better to their coworkers. So that was, it kind of gives me goosebumps every time I think about it. It was a great idea she had. She's brilliant.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Such insight. You know, if you need help like promoting any of that stuff, please just forward over to me, and I'll just send it out to everybody in a newsletter or something, because it's just so wonderful. That's excellent. Okay, let me move on to the next one. Best compliment you've ever received.
Okay. So two things, and they both came from kids, or were kid stories, right? So I will do, and whatever it takes, and there's a lot of parents like this. Special needs parents tend to be extra so, right? If there's something to be chaperoned, if there's something to be coached, if there's something to be done, right? We say yes, and it's yes to help out and yes to help our kids. Mm-hmm. I coached my daughter's hockey team for years. And I just remember one day, like, I'm talking to the kids, we're doing all this stuff, and one of the kids was like, "Mrs. Torrance, are you a teacher?" and to me, that is like super high praise, because I'm actually not a school teacher. I don't know how they do that. I'm not sure I could be as patient and loving and supportive and creative all day long as teachers are. And so to me, that was just a high honor. Wow. That someone thought enough of my coaching approach to think that I must be a teacher, which was great. Mm-hmm. And then, funny story, I had signed up to be the chaperone for the high school music department's trip to Nashville a few years ago, in which it was like red-eye bus trips with 140 high school students, and I'm really glad that those days are past me. I did not enjoy myself. But the head chaperone said, right, "Megan, right, your group is all the kids who come with extra instructions, because I know you know how to deal with kids who come with extra instructions." Like, okay. So I had my day hiking backpack, and I had all of my daughter's meds in it. And then I had all the other kids' meds that and then I ended up, I had all the cold meds. I had everything that I had. I was like a walking pharmacy, or, of all these other things. And it was hilarious. And so at one point, some kid went up to a band director, and they're like, "Oh, I'm nauseous," or whatever. And it was like, "Go ask Mrs. Torrance. She's probably got something for that in her bag." Right. I got something for everybody.
Wow.
So, yeah, Toddy, they acquire instructions. I think they don't come with instructions. But yeah, there's a certain subset of kids that, in order to like send them off to a summer camp or send them to school, they go with a binder and a bunch of bags of stuff, and don't do these things, got to do these things, and yeah.
Right, that is amazing. I love that. I love those answers. That's very, very cool. Yeah. Okay, next question. How would your best friend describe what you do for a living?
Okay. She would say, this is a good one. I had fun with this. Michelle would say, "I throw fish." She doesn't understand what I do, and I wave my hands a lot. So my friend, Michelle Massey Barnes, is a professional photographer. And she actually had her office in our office, or her studio in our office, for a few years, kind of like an business incubator option, right? It meant we had our go-to, the official photographer of Torrance Learning Events was right here. She had all of her stuff, which was great. We would trade, our video studio would need lights. She would need a second camera. We'd trade equipment all the time too. But we had an XAPI project that involved putting an accelerometer inside a stuffed trout. Like, I cut the belly of the trout out and I dug out some stuffing. I put an accelerometer in it. So, and then when you threw it, if you threw it past a certain speed, it would send an XAPI statement. And so she comes to our events and photographs our events, and she doesn't understand. She's like, "I don't understand any of the words you're saying. It looks like a lot of fun, and there's fish involved." So she is sure, if you were to ask her what XAPI is, she is 100% sure it involves fish. But it's funny. So
I love it. It just makes me curious as to like how she became your best friend.
She got connected up with me through a guy who does like all sorts of, I'm not even sure how to describe what he does, but he's a business consultant and he connects people. And he said, oh, you two need to be connected. And honestly, I don't know why he thought that, because on the surface, we have nothing in common. Our worlds are so totally different. But as it turns out, she's got 3 kids. I've got 1 kid. She's got kids with autism, ADHD, and asthma, and I've got all those in 1 kid. So we bounce ideas off each other a lot, and it's worked out fabulously.
Wow, I love it. So next question, we got a little bit of time left here. Let's see if we can get through the rest of these.
All right.
What is something you wish you were really good at?
This was a hard one, and then all of a sudden it became really easy. Because at first I was like, yeah, don't ask that question. And then I realized, no, he's asking all the questions. So I got to come up with an answer. And then I figured out, right? I am not funny. I am not musical. I am not athletic. I'm not artistic. I don't have a social, like there's nothing, nothing interesting, but like you wouldn't think, oh, we should invite Megan to that party because that'll be fun. Yeah. We can keep moving. There's a lot of things I'm not. Keep going. You don't have to dwell there. Strength.
All right, I'll move on. But I mean, coming from my perspective, it just seems like you are amazing at, so many things. And so it's like surprising to see. I mean, you don't think you're funny, but I think you're hilarious. So, I mean, Suzanne just said it. You are funny, and she would go to your party. So there you go.
Party, yeah. All right, so I have to throw a party. Okay, all right. I don't cook that well.
Okay, there you go. Cooking, but you can always work on music. Music is something you can always just pick up here and there. And
no, honestly, you don't want me to pick that up. Think, right? The 2nd grade recorder concert that you sit through, like that would be that's my musical talent.
That's hilarious. Oh, I love it. Okay, so what other kinds of jobs have you worked?
I bet when you ask this people, right, you get crazy, awesome ideas, right? Or answers and all these random things. And I have had the most, if you look at it, it was certainly never planned or intended this way. But if you look at it backwards, like from where I am now backwards, it's like, wow, that's like a really either coherent or really straight and not very interesting pathway. So seriously, when I was in 6th grade, my dad, my dad said, oh, this computer thing. So early 1980s, right? This computer thing will be a thing. And so he shoves me out to the community college locally, which was awesome. Had a programming course for kids. He shoved me into that. Everybody else is making this is in BASIC, right? So this is, black and green screen, really nasty stuff, right? He shows me out of that. Everybody else is making fractals and pretty pictures, and I made a quiz. Like that, I was like, hey, I can program a quiz. So basically I was making e-learning, really bad e-learning, in the 1980s as a middle schooler. So I ended up making a lot of quizzes to quiz myself. Nobody else wanted to be quizzed. That didn't seem like a really fun time. So all my friends had Ataris, and I'm making quizzes as they're playing games. In college, I did work customer service at a dry cleaners when I was in high school. Wow. I don't think I learned anything from that other than that you should take your pens out of your pockets before you take your clothes to the dry cleaners. Otherwise, some high school kid is going to go through your pockets. Be careful what you leave in there. Right. In college, I totally lucked out. I got a job, right? Are you ready for this? I got a job doing writing and graphic design right for an HR department, releasing training right as the Americans with Disabilities Act and the OSHA bloodborne pathogens regulations were coming out. Mm-hmm. So I was in college basically writing training.
Yeah.
And then I started working at Anderson Consulting, and there are people their people practice, which your junior people there wrote training. We used authorware. Like that's what we did. I never actually did that. I started doing shared services, which projects, which was really interesting because, how do you centralize payroll? How do you centralize accounts payable? All right. So I learned all these back office functions. And the last one of those was a learning management system. So I put in a learning management system. Okay, right? Yeah. It was the client's first learning management, the early days of SCORM. And it was the software company's first learning management system. It was everybody's first learning management system. And I then started implementing LMSs. Or LMSs, right? And started doing that. And then people said, well, can you build the stuff that goes in it? I'm like, I've been doing that since 6th grade. Yes, I can build the stuff that goes in it. And so now actually, if you look at it now, it's like, oh, that makes total sense. That's why she does all this stuff. But that was not what I planned.
That's fascinating. So let me ask you this, and I'm going to, just throw this question out there. So with all this training you've created, is there anything that any subject matter that you've kind of covered that has particularly stuck with you?
Oh gosh, it's, I love the times when there's a subject matter that is useful to me in my regular life. Right. We did, right. So I own business. We did a course for the Dow Chemical Company, 2008, 2009 on pricing strategy. And I didn't have any idea how to price things, but here we were building a course on pricing strategy. That's really cool. I actually kept the job aid that I wrote in my binder for 3 years. That was the most dog-eared thing, right? It was like, wow. So I know you were hoping for something meaningful and touching and deep, but no, honestly, this pricing sheet was pretty awesome. And we built training for, there's this fabulous community of businesses local to us. It's called Zingerman's. If you've ever been to Southeast Michigan, or if you someday again fly through the Detroit Metro Airport, they have a station there too. Anyways, amazing food. They have this really interesting training business. But part of their whole culture and ethos is their customer service. And so whenever I get we built the 3 steps to great service and the 5 steps to, I can't remember the title, handling times when you don't give great service and you have to service recovery, right? And whenever it hits the fan, what are the 5 steps? I got to channel my 5 steps. I can get through this with the 5 steps. So it's those they're helpful things.
Yeah. That's fascinating. That's a really good question. I think I'm going to have to add that question. Yeah. It's a good one. So if you were not an L&D professional, you'd be...
Okay, this is where it does get a little bit more interesting, right? Because I've never been not an L&D professional, basically. No, so in my early 20s, right, well, and all throughout my 20s, right, I wanted to be a spy, really, really badly. So get this, my dad trying desperately to help me get a career, out of, find a career. He comes home with the first ever job fair book I'd ever seen in my life. Right, I'm in college and I'm looking at this job fair book and it is page after page. I think there was 36 job descriptions posted that would be available at this job fair or whatever. I never went to the job fair, but and all of it's page after page of computer programmers. I'm like, I don't want to do that. 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 The very last page was a job at the CIA. I'm like, the CIA just recruits people like normal companies do? It just blew my mind. I'd read spy novels all through high school. I'm like, I could be a spy. Any day had somebody walked into the building and said, in movies where they're like, I need you to do something now. I would have dropped everything and totally gone off and do that. And no training. We already established I'm not even athletic. So it was, that's what I really wanted to be. In my 30s, I really wanted to be a nurse. Right? I had my daughter. My daughter was super sick with asthma when she was really young. Nurses have this infinite capacity to care for people at the times in their lives when they're at their worst. They feel like crap. They look like crap. They don't want. They're everything sucks. And there is a nurse there
Mhm.
who seems to be able to ignore all of that and just like reach you with compassion. It's amazing. My mom's a retired nurse,
Mm.
and that always just like blew me away, right? So now, so 20s spy, 30s nurse, 40s, I figured out you actually don't ever really grow up, right? Like, so when I grow up, I no longer want to be a thing. I want to, like, there are people in my life that I wish I could channel. You know, Leanne, who's our at Torrance Learning, Leanne G, she's our course development team lead. She is the most thoughtful person. Like, just, she's thoughtful. Jamie Washington, our team, she's our experience host. She does our HR and culture and our external marketing. She is such a bright spark no matter what. Her mission on this planet is to make people happy. A good friend of mine, Mel Drum at the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum and Leslie and Science and Nature Center, he has this gift for gratitude. No matter what, Mel makes you feel awesome. And like and it's like, that is such a gift.
Yeah.
So I want to channel more of that in my life, really. So it's not
That's
a thing.
awesome.
I want to be these people, like, all packed into one.
Yeah, sorry. It looks like I lost my audio here for a second, but I am going to go ahead and ask you the last question regardless. Okay. If there's one thing that people should know about you, what is it?
So I'm just learning this about me. But it's kind of funny. Like, so I have this thing where, like, I will be, it doesn't matter if I'm sick or I'm tired, like, I'll be like, oh, I feel like garbage and I must be getting a cold, blah, 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 blah. And then somebody will say, hey, we want to talk to you about a new project, or hey, we have this idea. And all of a sudden I stage this like miraculous recovery because I so enjoy like getting in and problem solving and doing all these things. And then I'm like, maybe I wasn't really sick if I was able to pull that off. So I'm trying to like really toy with just like, what are the limits of human capacity? And how far can I carry that? And when should I just like, it's okay, Megan, lay down and take a nap. So I'm figuring that out. But I do a ton of hiking, and especially a lot these days, I do a lot of solo hiking. And it's a great exercise. It's a great place to think and like try out new things. And, you know, I'll go for a 6 or 8 mile hike and, you know, thrown out a whole bunch of ideas. Most of them are bad. A couple of them stick. And so like the running joke around our office is that new things usually start with like, okay, so I was on a hike this week and then I came up with this, and everybody kind of braces themselves every time I do that. So
Wow.
It was kind of funny.
No, that's great. That is wonderful. And gosh, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. And I actually feel really, really honored to have been able to have this conversation with you and learn so much more about you. And I think that it's very, very cool that we have it recorded and we get to release it to the world. I hope that's okay with you, because people are going to learn a lot more about Megan Torrance. So this is fantastic. And I turned on my camera, but then it says it's overheating. So I'm going to have to figure that out. I'm in Northern California and it's like almost 90 degrees right now. So I think, and this is new, like I've never had to operate. I've never used this camera like in this weather. So I'm going to have to figure something out. But Megan, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing your stories with us. And, you know, thanks for being a supporter of the community, and we're going to catch you next time.
This has been so much fun. And what a great idea. What a great idea.
Yeah. A lot of it is because, right, like with the conferences being rescheduled or being canceled. And I know that one of my favorite things about events is just being able to get to know people and talk to people and just stop people in the hallways and chat or in the expo or whatever. It's like, what can we replace that with? It's like, I'm just going to hit up people and like, let's talk. And cause that's when you get to know folks, right? It's like, I can see you doing, presentations and stuff. And there's, Megan up on the stage or behind the camera and all that. But then, it's those in between things that really can make a difference. So that's what this is sort of supposed to be.
That's cool. No, this is super fun. And I'll tell you, this community rocks. And so kind of like adding this dimension to that community, I think is super awesome. And we'll see each other again someday at conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in with us this afternoon or this evening or wherever you are. And tomorrow we actually have our first episode of the accessibility playlist. We're going to be talking about storyline and accessibility. And so make sure you tune into that. That one's tomorrow afternoon as well. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.